My ancestors originated from France. All of the Cassavants in the United States and Canada are descendants of Jean Cassavant. Jean was from Auch in the south of France. Jean married Jeanne Carpentier, who was from Normandy in northern France. In 1645, the Cassavants moved from Auch to New France, known today as Quebec in Canada. There they started a family and had 13 children. The child that is most important to this story is Henry Cassavant. Henry was born April 2, 1887. When he was 13 years old, him and his family moved to New Bedford, Massachusetts. Maria Blanchard was born November 20, 1891, in Manchester, New Hampshire. Her ancestors had immigrated to Canada from Limoges, France. Maria's mother died while she was an infant, and sometime after that, her and her father moved to New Bedford. Maria and Henry's families were very close friends, and soon the two were in love. They were married in St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church in New Bedford on October 27, 1914. On April 4, 1915, Henry and Maria left New Bedford and traveled to Bourdonnais, Alberta, Canada. The Canadian government was offering 160 acres of forest land to anyone who would clear 5 acres of land a year, and after 5 years, the land would belong to those individuals. Here, Henry and Maria set up their homestead. They began raising a family. Life on the homestead was difficult and very crazy at times. After they had 3 children, they moved to East Albany in Vermont. They gained a lot of respect in the community and were happy to be back in civilization with doctors and medicine nearby. They bought a large farm with 140 acres of land. There were many animals on the farm, and they even made their own maple syrup. Henry and Maria bought a Model T Ford and considered themselves very fortunate. On February 14, 1925, during an untimely storm, Lily Cassavant was born. She later formally changed her name to Lillian. The Depression hit the Cassavants hard. With 12 people eating at a time, Maria was under a lot of stress. The majority of money was being made from milk, which Henry sold at the Hood's Creamery in Orleans. Christmases got smaller, and one Christmas there was no money, and thus no Christmas. In 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and the country was officially at war. At this time, Lillian moved to Waterbury, Connecticut in hopes of joining the Navy. She was rejected because of her height, so she began working in factories making supplies for the war. At the time, Waterbury was known as the brass center of the world and was a very busy but prosperous city. There was constant activity and 3 shifts in the factories working around the clock. The factories produced brass rods, sheets, and tubes, as well as a lot of ammunition and eventually some of the components of the atomic bomb. Lillian's brothers Andy and Lucien had been recruited into the military. At the farm in Vermont, in the front window, hung a flag with 2 stars representing the 2 sons currently serving the country. In Waterbury, everything was becoming darker. Lights had to be turned off because the government didn't want the enemy to find this boom town that was so important to the strategic defense plan. At one point, all the Japanese in the city were arrested. It was rumored that they were taken to California to concentration camps, though these camps were nothing like the ones in Europe. Later, it was said that this treatment of the Japanese might have been the greatest violation of human rights in America since slavery. At a Saturday night dance, Lillian met the man that was to become her husband. After dating Gilman Sear for less than a year, they were married in St. Anne's Church on November 9, 1944. After Lillian became pregnant, her and Gilman moved to Maine to be with Gilman's family. Lillian had her first child, Vincent. Lillian did not like living in Maine, so they moved back to Waterbury, which she considered her home. Lillian's parents also lived in Waterbury at this time. In October of 1954, Lillian and all her brothers and sisters surprised their parents by all being present for their 40th wedding anniversary. This picture was taken at the celebration and included all the grandchildren, which was about 30 at the time. The family gathered again in 1964 for Henry and Marie's 50th wedding anniversary, which included aunts and uncles and almost 50 grandchildren this time. They held Mass and renewed their wedding vows at St. Anne's Church in Waterbury. While Henry and Maria were visiting relatives in Massachusetts one weekend, they talked about their lives and how it all seemed unreal now. Henry said it was all like a dream. The following Monday, Henry died of a heart attack at age 79 while helping a neighbor with their laundry. He died just how he always lived, loving his neighbors, just as the Lord wished. Maria died of a stroke several years later at age 83. Lillian wrote a book of her life, and at the end of the book she writes, "Dear family, throughout the time that I was at home with my parents, Mama always said that she should write a book, or that she should have kept a journal. At that time, I never ever dreamed that I would be the one to write her story. I started taking notes and asking questions in 1962 because I was planning and heading a 50th wedding anniversary celebration for them. At that time, there was a popular TV show called This Is Your Life. I got it into my head that this is what I wanted to do for my parents. After the anniversary party was finished, and it did turn out well, I put it down and forgot about it. However, after they were both gone, I thought that I could use the story and turn it into a novel, but I put that down too for years. Just before I retired, I started writing down notes as a possibility. I took it to a professor at one of the local schools, and he told me that what I had here was a family history, and to please keep going, because it'll be appreciated when we're gone. After that, it never left my mind. I would think, when I get old, I can do it. But age crept up on me, and one day I said to myself, you'd better do it now before it's too late. Now that it's done, I think back at how Mama raised us, of how many times I thanked the Lord for her gift of teaching me to speak the French language. It came in very handy many times. How she taught us to pray the rosary. Prayer is something I needed for my old age. Also how she taught us to love our neighbors. Also that she was so strong in teaching me morals. I was ready to die defending my virginity, and I came very close to proving it a couple of times. But most of all, because she taught me to have all the children the Lord wanted me to have. I was always very happy to be pregnant. I was very happy being a mother, and happy that He gave me 7 beautiful children to care for. If I had to do it over again, I might do it a little more like Mama. In my heart, I know that she, along with Papa, Uncle Victor, and Aunt Donalda, are smiling in heaven because their story has finally been told. Love, Lillian Cassavant Sear.